Inga Surgunte, my great pleasure to welcome you to give your presentation and tell us about the project that you've been doing with one of your very, very important 19th century poets in Latvia.
Yes, thank you. And hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here. And also thank you, the previous speakers, for the really very inspiring presentations. I will be talking about a project entitled More Light. And it is a project in a countryside museum in Latvia. It's Eduard Veidenbaums Museum. And let's learn core facts about the museum. It is a former farmstead from the 19th century, which has become a national historic monument. Its territory covers almost 4.5 hectares, and we have 5 buildings from that ancient, or not so ancient, Latvian farmstead. The collection of the museum is not super large. It's around 8,000 items, mainly manuscripts, and a little collection of books as well. And this museum is functioning only during the warm season, which is basically spring and summer in Latvian case. And our main target audience are the young people or adolescents. And as to our main hero, Eduard Veidenbaums, he had a rather short life. He died at the age of 24. And as you can see, in terms of numbers, his heritage is also not a big one. It's quite a modest one. But nevertheless, he managed to create a whole revolution in the Latvian literature, becoming the very first modernist author. And yes, his collection contains mainly his letters, his student notes, and other manuscripts from him and his family. So since 2019, the museum started rethinking its mission and goals. The museum was created in 1958, and it has a very strong political background designed by the Soviet regime. So museum is still struggling with that because it's still alive in the old elderly audiences. But we were starting rethinking the mission and looking deeply into the collection and into the biography of the author to see in what ways we could connect better with our main target audience, which are mainly the school groups, young people. And as we all know, and there is a lot of information on the continuously worsening mental health of young people, we saw that the very unpeaceful personality of the young Veidenbaums and his very difficult and complex relationships with his family members and friends could be a good, fruitful basis for the museum to start a communication with the young audiences about mental health issues and also about creating more harmonious relationships with others. So having this new direction into our minds, we are creating a new permanent exhibition in the museum, new educational programs, and we're organizing artist residencies. And I will try to talk a little bit on each of those. So the new permanent exhibition is already open. It is in the former farms workers room. And traditionally in 19th century, those rooms had a big dining table in the middle. So we have kept this design, and around it, we are displaying the manuscripts and other objects from the museum collection to introduce the writings, the literary work, and the life of Veidenbaums. So with these two photos, I would like to show two sides of this exhibition. On the left, you can see the very iconic objects as manuscripts, glasses, walking sticks that have always been on display since the very beginnings of the museum. They are very well known and loved by our regular visitors. But the new part is the table, and we have, for the first time, we have paid so much attention to each family member, and we really wanted to bring a lot of personal stories. So we have created a seat, a place for each of the family members at the table. We have created 10 short artistic films about each of the family members and a little booklet that was written by a contemporary Latvian writer on that person. Sometimes we were having so little information about those people that we had to basically imagine or invent those stories, and especially when it goes towards the women in the family. This is a little feministic aspect of this exhibition. There's very little evidence left from the lives, so we had to really imagine how they were feeling, how they were living this farmstead life. And our aim with this is to really make the story personal, but also to learn through what psychological difficulties these people were going through and what difficulties they had in their relationships. And each of the family members has a drawer, and we have picked one object from the museum collection, and those are basically, again, texts, drawings, written materials. And again, we were looking for an object that would show that person from very personal, almost intimate perspective. This is how our visitors are interacting with those stories, reading, watching, discussing, taking photos. But the most important part is this one. When people sit in those places, they kind of take the role of the respective family members, and they start talking among themselves. What were the life stories of those 19th century people? What struggles, what challenges did they have? And we encourage those conversations, both on the topic of the mental health issues. They are invited to share what knowledge did have the family members of Veidenbaums in the 19th century, and what new knowledge we have nowadays, and how we would act in the same situations today. And we also encourage them to share their own perspectives on relationships in families and in close friendships. And here is a wonderful moment when we really could see it work, and our visitors are telling us that they feel at home, they feel safe, and they like that there is a space created for them to share those very important questions and considerations. Next to the exhibition, we have created a new educational program for the young people. One of the programs is those drama workshops. It always starts by getting familiar with the museum collection and the biography of the author, and especially looking into difficult situations, one could say even crises that Veidenbaums has had, both on personal mental health level, but also in social context, in the context of having difficulties in relationships. And then, using different drama methods, we are inviting our participants, our young visitors, to find in a playful way a more peaceful, more healthy solutions for the situations, for the challenges that Veidenbaums was going through. And next to it, we are also adding a first psychological aid kit that is created by a Latvian psychotherapist. And in some of the modules of the same program, we might give a little training on very simple techniques, how to act in case of panic attacks or anxiety, both when it is your personal experience, or if you see your friend experiencing it. So we're trying to give also some practical skills. And finally, last summer we organized Wellbeing Residences. It's an ongoing project entitled Sanssouci Wellbeing Residences that is developed by another organization, but we invited them to carry out the residency program in our museum as well. We invited two artists last year. That was a poet, Raimons Cirtis, and a painter and performance artist, Anda Lāce, who worked with young people from the local villages, youngsters from rural areas. So they would play around again in a very playful way, try out different visual arts, poetry and performance techniques. And in the end of this residency, they would show several performances in front of the public. So this is one of these. They were working on huge pieces of paper. They were painting and writing about difficult moments in their lives, about crises that they have experienced, and they would in the end make huge paper balls and bring them to the meadow and burn them. That was really a very impressive ritual. And another example is that they co-wrote a poem, and then they were displaying it in this way on those stripes of paper and writing it at the same way in front of the public. And in the end, when we try to imagine possible futures for this project, of course, we would like to go on with educational programs that are created during this project, and they will be included in the Latvian School Bag program, which is a government-funded program, very accessible for Latvian school children. We would like to organize a longer training courses and summer camps for adolescents and young people on mental health. And we have a new project that is just in its very beginning in the municipality. We are developing an arts and prescription program, and we would like this project to be included in that one too. Thank you, and please feel free to write comments, questions in the chat, but also feel free to contact me if you have anything to share, to ask.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Inga, for that. Again, what a beautiful flow we are creating through our webinar this morning. So many things that linked both to what we've heard already about prescribing and so on and so forth. And then sort of, I think also what struck me about, what you presented to us there was how somehow a safe space can be created in a space that really doesn't look that safe at all. Very much kind of open table in the middle of a room. I'm going to ask people to put questions and comments into the chat if it's okay with you, just because I'm so aware of the time. But I'm sure there will be many things that people will, and that was so wonderful. Thank you so much.